when in fact we are Al-Qaeda, the Saudis are Al-Qaeda, and people have got to get that point through their heads.
Share this video with a friend.
And Dr. Jerome Corsi, I've got you in this segment and the next. Another guest is coming up. I appreciate your time. You've got the floor. Where is this going? How is Obama doing? How crippled is he? What do you expect to see come next? And how do we stop these people? How do we get back on a course to sanity?
Well, you got to remember, Alex, Obama's just their current agent in place. Obama's just doing the bidding for the Saudis. He's following his orders. Remember, connect the dots too in the Saudis. Remember that John Brennan, who heads our CIA, as far as I'm concerned, has quietly and secretly converted to Islam. I've believed that about Brennan for a long time. Remember, Brennan was the guy whose security firm helped sanitize Obama's passport records before the 2008 election. The two guys who broke into the passport office to seize Obama's passport records worked for Brennan, and they never got picked up. They never got apprehended, and Brennan advances himself to head of the CIA, from National Security Advisor in the White House, and Brennan is on the record many times as supporting jihadists, as supporting radical Islam. As far as I can tell, Brennan speaks fluent Arabic. He spent time excessively in the region. As far as I can tell, he's converted and might as well be considered to be heading our CIA as a pro-Wahhabist supporting quietly friend, ally, promoter, puppet of the Saudis. And the false flag in Syria has already occurred. It was the chemical attack, and I published on WND the films of the rebels launching the attack of the chemicals, not the government. The UN has been over there twice now. The UN has never said or attributed responsibility to Assad. You've got John Kerry out there promoting that Assad is guilty and pumping this false flag. It's the intent to send U.S. military into harm's way for a cause that is not in U.S. interest, but will support al-Qaeda, jihadists, and other criminals that are funded by Saudi Arabia. That's the truth. That's how the dots connect.
Unfortunately, that's the only way they connect. Now,
Americans, I think Americans are getting the point, Alex. I think you broadcast, we're working in WND diligently to get the information to the American people that we are Al-Qaeda. We've always been Al-Qaeda. Go back to the roots of the Bush family and the bin Laden family tied together. I mean, even Michael Moore in his film was documenting the bin Laden family connections with the Bush family connections.
Well, I've noticed this, Dr. Corsi. You can criticize anybody, but you go after Saudi Arabia, all hell breaks loose.
Go back to World War II when FDR met with the head of the Saudi family on a boat in the Mediterranean on his way to one of the early summits in World War II. And the deal was made that we were going to use our oil in World War II, and the Saudis were going to back us up. We had Saudi Arabia oil connections going back to pre-World War II era. And if you trace it far enough, you'll find British Petroleum and Winston Churchill right in the middle of it with Iranian oil going back, to the conversion of the British Navy from coal to oil. This, so much of our new world order is based upon the politics of oil to benefit those few families, the Bush.
Stay there, back in 60. Think of America now as a castle that doesn't have walls anymore. We're wide open to any special interest. The American people aren't organized except around football. And all these special interests are just running wild to the point of they have such disrespect for us Obama signs an order 2 weeks ago to legalize what he's already doing, but I've read the code. It doesn't legalize it, to be able to arm al-Qaeda. And you've got this plan to turn basically half the world over to al-Qaeda while using the al-Qaeda threat to take our liberties here domestically. Dr. Corsi, you were getting into the power of Saudi Arabia earlier, but in the 3-4 minutes we have left, you've got the floor here finishing up. How do we stop this? What are you worried about coming down the road? What do we do?
Well, I want people first to understand that it was Obama and Odinga, Obama's Luo cousin, who was, after violence and losing the election, prompted by agreements, discussions between Obama and Odinga, Odinga got to be co-head of state and opened the door with the new constitution to al-Qaeda coming into Kenya through Somalia. Kenya used to be a 90% Christian country. It was very stable. But between Obama and Odinga, Kenya's been destabilized. You now see massive Somalian terrorist al-Qaeda-linked groups operative in Kenya. And this attack on the mall is a shocking indication of how powerful these al-Qaeda groups have come. They're killing Christians in the mall who can't give answers as to who Muhammad's mother was, and other questions with regards to Islam. This is the Saudis backing al-Qaeda, joined by Obama backing al-Qaeda. And in terms of false flags, the false flags have already occurred. This entire chemical attack ruse in Syria, which is a ploy to get our military to go along again and put their lives at risk for oil, for the interests of the Saudis to combat Iran. And, Obama is in the process right now of funding al-Qaeda throughout northern Africa, including from Libya, with the worst terrorists armed with weapons that we provided in part, being brought into Syria for these al-Qaeda and other jihadists through Turkey. And this is what Ambassador Stevens was at the center. It's why Benghazi is still alive. It's why Obama won't tell us what he was doing that night when we let these guys die in Benghazi without bringing military to try to save them. So people got to wake up and understand that the lies here have been going on since before World War II. And this new world order crowd that thinks that they can create international structures, international finance, and push everybody around on lies of al-Qaeda, when in fact we are al-Qaeda, the Saudis are al-Qaeda, and people have got to get that point through their heads. That's very powerful stuff, Alex, but I can back it all up. I know. It's all there publicly. It's all there. And it's so frustrating. And I have this sense of dread for our society on one hand, but the other hand, I see a big awakening. The power structure better not be worried about us. They better be worried about the military waking up. Well, if the military wakes up and realizes how many men and women have been killed and maimed over, lies. I mean, the lie was to get into Iraq in the first place in 1991. Over Kuwait, which is insignificant to U.S. national security interests. And George H.W. Bush proclaiming during that war in a speech to Congress, New World Order. That was the.
We're going to have to get you back up in the next few days. This is too important. Thank you, Dr. Corsi.